Today I'm going to explain an action, thriller, and crime movie called Parker. Before going into the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The main protagonist is an experienced robber with an English accent who everyone calls Parker, who arrives at the Ohio State Fair in Columbus. He is a modern-day Robin Hood, an adept thief who doesn't steal from the poor or harm the innocent. Under a false identity as a holy father, Parker leads a group of criminals, including a brother of the Chicago mob, Hardwick, and 4 criminals with him of reputations. Their intention is to rob the carnival. Parker breaches into the local security office and distracts the guards, while the clowns sneak in and attack them. Inside, the guards keep huge amounts of money from the 3-day vacation. The group of criminals holds the employees hostage, while Hardwick starts a controlled fire. Meanwhile, people continue to enjoy themselves without suspecting anything. One of the hostages is having a panic attack, and Parker tries to calm him down, assuring him that they will not kill anyone. Through flashbacks, we learn that Hurley, an elderly thief, and father of the protagonist's beloved Claire, was the one who proposed that he join in the robbery. Even though Claire thinks they barely know each other, Parker has worked for Hurley for many years, and the former thief knows he can trust him. Hurley has given Parker all the resources he needs, including men from a clown gang led by a criminal named Melander. Meanwhile, the fire goes from controlled to massive, apparently causing panic among the participants. When more than $1 million end up in the hands of the robbers, they take advantage of the chaos and successfully flee the scene with the help of their accomplice, Carlson. Posing as the firefighters, they manage to leave the area. When Hardwick and Parker meet in an abandoned industrial area, the latter blames the man for the deviation from the original plan. Given that spying on the tent, Hardwick had lost time getting to the planned location, and as a result, he set the fire in the barn, but near the propane tank depot. Since this increased the public danger, it made the investigation more of a priority. The other part of the team arrives, and they all get into the car as they drive along a country road. The leader notes the professionalism of the rookie, Parker, and offers to do another robbery. At this point, however, he can expect a share of $1 million. But Parker firmly refuses, wishing to get his $200,000 and get out of the shady business. Following the planned scenario, everyone prepares to kill Parker as he refuses to join them in the new robbery. Parker takes a moment to realize that he is in danger and manages to injure Carlson and then jump out the car window. After being shot by Melander, the gang leader forces Hardwick to finish off the rebel. The latter gets out of the car, shoots Parker, and throws him into the water, after which the thieves make a hasty escape. After a while, a farmer passes with his family along that road. Noticing blood on the road, he finds the protagonist in a lake and delivers Parker, miraculously making it to the town hospital. Upon waking up in the hospital bed, the man hears on the news that a fire at a carnival has killed many people and that the robbers have not been found. The protagonist notices the police outside the hospital and has no intention of waiting for them to investigate him. So he puts a doctor to sleep and steals his clothes. After that, he escapes, taking a patient outside. Outside, he takes an ambulance and drives away. He stops to rest and treat his wounds in the van. Parker decides to track down the group that betrayed him and killed them one by one. Parker sneaks into Hunter's motel room, robbing it of a set of clothes, a multi-tool, an electric razor, and another gun. After stealing another person's car, Parker heads to a check cashing center in Memphis. He enters the facility while holding a hostage and commits an armed robbery. He needs the money to create a new identity and new documents. Later, Parker goes to Houston, Texas, and admits that Bob Hurley is a friend of his. He orders the new documents from the print shop's owner and offers money. While waiting for the new papers to be delivered, Parker calls Hurley and asks him where Hardwick's brother is. Hurley attempts to persuade him to stay away because these are dangerous and out-of-touch people. Parker, however, is adamant that he needs the address, and the elderly thief tells him that it is the bar where Hardwick's brother works. Then Parker leaves right away for New Orleans. He enters the bar and beats up the security guy, after which he finds Hardwick's brother, who happens to own 5 bars on Bourbon Street. The guy reveals to him that Melander and his gang are in Palm Beach, an island in a city of billionaires and multimillionaires. Parker calls Claire and her father right away and urges them to go on a trip of some kind. The protagonist understands that his enemies will use the people he cares about to get to him. The scene shifts to Florida, where real estate agent Leslie Rogers stays and works. At that moment, the criminal group is planning its next big heist. Her brother informs Hardwick that Parker is still alive. When Hardwick reveals this to Melander, the latter becomes enormously angry. He becomes so frustrated that he is about to shoot one of his men. But Ross says the plan will fail even without one of them. Melander commands Hardwick to call his powerful uncle, Mr. Danziger in Chicago, to hire a hitman to kill Parker. Danziger sends his best hitman, named Kroll, to kill Parker. The hitman first breaks into Claire's house to kidnap her and then gets to Parker. Claire packs her bags to go on vacation but experiences a strange noise in the house. However, the clever girl manages to sneak out of the house through a window and punches the tire of the hitman's car, after which she escapes from the killer. Claire calls Parker while driving and cries as she informs him that a hitman has broken into her home. Parker tells her to go to the fishing camp on the shores of Lake Okeechobee and wait there until Friday. In the meantime, Parker returns to Houston to get the new documents but finds 3 of Danzinger's subordinates lying on the floor under the control of Norte and his helper Ernesto. Parker shoots Ernesto in both legs. When asked to lie on the floor, he realizes that Ernesto actually works for Danzinger and betrays Norte. He then takes his papers and forces Norte to shoot the 3 men sent by Danzinger. Having no other choice, Norte shoots the 3 with his revolver and leaves his fingerprints. Later, Hurley and Parker meet. Parker is informed by Hurley that Danzinger has gotten in touch with him and has left him his share of the earlier robbery. A Chicago mob boss would never offer money to someone who gets in the way of their plans, so Parker realizes that he is lying to him in order to calm the situation. Parker refuses the cash because he wants to uphold his principles and exact revenge on the clowns. To do so, he travels to Florida as Daniel Parramatta, an escaped convict living in San Antonio, Texas, as if he were to buy a house. An awkward home buying operation. Leslie Rogers, who helps him out, but the man ultimately decides to visit Claire first before purchasing the property. They meet as decided and Parker suggests breaking it off so as not to endanger her life on an exploratory trip with a real estate agent. Parker walks past lavish villas with indifference but stops in front of a dingy house by local standards, purchased 2 months earlier for $1.2 million from Mr. Rodrigo. He realizes he's located the residence where Mellender's gang plans to hide. Parker declines Leslie's invitation to lunch after the robbery because he is too busy. One evening, Rogers, interested in the potential client's situation, queries at the bank but gets no transaction, which leaves her puzzled. The girl is furious when she learns later that her car has been repossessed because she also owes money to her cheating ex-husband and has a mountain of debt. In the process, Hitman Kroll pays Norte a visit and kills him, thinking he is working with Parker. In evening, the protagonist returns to the home of the fake Mr. Rodrigo, where he finds a stash of weapons. He lays traps and studies their plan for the robbery. Returning to his car, he discovers Leslie, who offers to continue the discussion in private. Parker behaves violently because he suspects she is working for someone. She tells him only that, according to her information and observations, he is not who he says he is. When they arrive at the empty office of the real estate agency where Leslie works overnight, she complains about her fate and asks to work for him for a share of the profits. Instead of answering, Parker instructs her to change into her pants to make sure she is not wearing a wire. He confirms and says he'll think about it. The next day, Parker contacts Rogers and offers to help him with the mission for a share of the money, and she accepts. Parker reveals Mellender's gang's plan and the $57 million in loot they stand to gain if all goes according to plan. When Parker reveals that they want to rob the diamond auction belonging to local socialite Miriam Hop Clinton, Leslie freaks out. She believes the mission is too dangerous and that they will be caught. But at this point, she cannot withdraw. Mellender and the gang showed up at the back gate of Mrs. Clinton's vast estate, where the auction will take place. The outfits Mellender and his accomplices are wearing are blue jumpsuits from a company that specializes in providing technical support for public events. Later, Parker drops Leslie off to take a cab to her office after going to his hotel room to meet Kroll. The killer slams his head against the bathtub after Parker strikes him in the head during a violent altercation. Thinking he is dead, he exits the bathroom, but shortly afterward, Kroll attacks him from behind. The assassin tries to stab him, but is then thrown from the balcony. However, Parker is also seriously injured, but at least he is alive. When the protagonist goes to Leslie's house, the local policeman questions Leslie about Parker. Suddenly, the woman notices bloodstains on the floor and tries to send the policeman away. Parker instructs her to use a payphone to call Claire later. Claire comes to treat his injuries because he can't risk going to a hospital on his own and tells him that she refuses to part with him. Parker's enemies are currently preparing for an upcoming robbery. Ross installed sequential pyrotechnic systems in the speakers, which Hardwick remotely activates as soon as the auction starts. Mellender drives to the estate in a fire engine with 2 accomplices dressed as firefighters, and they steal the jewels that the police have secured. All 3 drawbridges between Palm Beach town and the mainland. They also block the roads and watch over the marina. Hardwick, aboard a speedboat, distracts the police, and Mellender and his comrades in arms dive into the lagoon with their wetsuits and diving gear and return home. There, Parker is prepared for them, hiding under tables with 2 guns. Leslie enters at this point, whom Hardwick captures after finding her peeking through the window. Mellender sends his men to search the home because he thinks Parker is nearby. Ross is killed in silence by Parker. And Mellender then gives Hardwick the order to pursue Parker. Meanwhile, Carlson stays with Leslie. Melander spots Parker and tries to shoot him in the back, but he misfires. After the fight, Parker takes out Melander, and at the same time, Leslie shoots Carlson with the gun she hid under the table. Hardwick presents the gun to Leslie and threatens to kill her if Parker does not agree to split the loot. But it turns out that the gun is broken when he pulls the trigger. Parker strikes Hardwick directly in the forehead. In the end, Parker breaks with Leslie, telling him to hide the jewels in an air conditioning duct and promising to send someone to retrieve them within 3 months. Parker locates Danziger and kills him 6 months later. Leslie receives her $24 million share in 2 cardboard boxes via express mail a year later. At the conclusion of the film, Parker rescues the farmer who saved him from death, and the old man begins to believe that Parker is not a man at all, but an angel.